Hello, this is Inokenti, and welcome to the second part of my overview of the RPGs that I own, the digital part, which is why you have this lovely background of Alarak from Heroes of the from StarCraft, but for me from Heroes of the Storm primarily. It's the game I play. But yeah, this is my Google Drive, as you can see, but also sort of local storage of my RPGs. I never want to be too far away from them. There are some duplicates here of what I've got in hard copy. Obviously, this has been extremely useful during the pandemic when the gaming moved online, and so yeah, like digital rule books are just fantastic, which is why it's kind of annoying that the Star Wars RPGs, which you will see I own a lot of from the previous part, because of um, Lucas Films, Lucas Arts, Lucas people, never made it to PDFs. You couldn't get those, and they couldn't sell them. Also, why the physical copies are quite valuable now, I suppose. I mean, they're still printing them and reprinting them and re-releasing them. So, shall we go in alphabetical order? Do you think is that the way to go? Ars Magicka, fifth edition. So, currently playing in a game of this. Yeah, Ars M. Uh, Interesting game. It's all about playing wizards, and it's very in depth on the rules and the mechanics. It's quite gritty. I basically have to have a specialist, a specialist on our game to relied on to like do a lot of the rule crunching as we go through it. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I like being a wizard and doing wizard things, but I find this system incredibly dense. Like the making of spells is really freeform and interesting and powerful. You know, formed from a couple of components, but it's incredibly dense. It's so dense. Still good fun. Here we have a few of the. There are so many across the five editions. There are so many um, different source books. We're actually playing in the Theban Tribunal, so all of the majors in the West, they only really exist in Europe, are divided into tribunals, but we are the Theban Tribunal, which is Greek. And unlike most of the other majors, we do Greek rather than Latin. It's set in actual medieval times. Um, so yeah, the Byzantines. Um, and obviously, yeah, there's just a lot of magic wizardly stuff. Um, I don't know. I quite like it. I've been enjoying it, but it's a peculiar system. It's a peculiar one. Buckeye, I think we've really talked about this in the hard copy, so not going to go too much into it. Uh, but yeah, I was in the Kickstarter for this. This is the fifth edition, I believe, which got a simultaneous um, German and English language release by Ulysses Spiel. So good on them. Um, yeah, it's a nice book. I really want to play it. As I said, it's pretty cool. But obviously, also comes with a bunch of cool source books like the Bestiary. Lots of cool monsters in Aventuria. Really kind of not quite obviously as wide as in D&D, but obviously rivals a lot of it. And obviously you get all the extensive stats and stuff about them. Uh, yeah, pretty cool. I do like their style. Uh, Estron, yeah. Look at this. I've got so many PDFs, basically PDFs of everything that I have in a copy. I don't think there's anything unique here, to be honest. Maybe just uh, pick out one of these to show off the art again, or well, in fact, the art book. It's this is a great great book to have. Like it is an art book of old Eastern art. Just gorgeous. Seagulls eating flesh. Darkly gothic. Yep, there we go. Estrin. Fate Forge, again, nothing that you haven't seen in hard copy. Fiasco, this actually includes the second edition of the rulebook. I do have Fiasco Companion for the first edition, but yeah, like the second edition is a lot more snazzy. It explains things a little bit better with kind of pictograms and stuff. So well worth picking the second edition up. There's no real need to choose between the two. You go for the second edition. It was available on the bundle of holding. I don't think it is anymore. But yeah, lots of sets for it as well, which is neat, and cards to help you play it, which is nice. Extra sets. Fiasco USA, yes. Genesis, nothing I think that's not been shown before. I do have Realms of Terranoth, which is the setting for Descent as well. Only in digital, not in hard copy. Yeah, it's pretty. Genesis fortunately has PDFs, so that's really handy. But otherwise, I've got more or less the same stuff. GM aids. So this is some interesting stuff that I've picked up and kickstarted over time. My particular favorite series is this A Dozen Troubling Rumors, which is just really a selection of story hooks to slot into your adventures. So I don't think I have the original. Do I have the original Troubling Rumors? I think it was part of part of the Kickstarter. Philip Reed does a lot of fantastic RPG work, but yeah, these are really they're system agnostic. They are really just a one pager of stuff like a rumor, a little bit of art to set off the tone, possible ways to approach doing the rumor, and really that's it. They're just there so that you can get your creative juices flowing, or you can already use just a little bit of text to set something up. They're really genuinely fantastic GM aids, and there's like a whole selection, like a dozen forest encounters. Again, like if you're traveling for a forest, yeah, let's give an idea. They're all very sort of generic fantasy, but it's really easy to adapt. You can you can bring these into your game really easily, and I really love that. And there's been he's done a whole huge raft of these. I think 4 or 5 Kickstarters now just for this, and obviously different encounters, descriptive traps. So again, the theme is okay. What kind of traps, interesting traps, could you have? What kind of ways can they go off or be handled? Kind of straightforward basic stuff, but sometimes you're stuck for this and you just need something to get the inspiration going. So I love those. And there's various offshoots like Fantasy City sites. Again, this is great. It's just a city or city sort of locations and stuff fleshed out. Again, an idea is just like if you've got a city-based game, maybe for a little bit of what's going on to soup up and give things a little bit of character. Maybe you never even bring any of this stuff directly to your players, and this is just to inspire you for ideas, which is great for. Separate Kickstarter was GMs Toolkit. Really similar sort of thing. Um, Al Pidwell and Stephen Hart, and for example, Rogues Gallery. So okay, just some enemies or nemesis or just local color that you can have. Just get a background, personality. Again, just to slot in these. I really love these kinds of little tools. I'm always on the lookout for Kickstarters of stuff like this because this is absolutely fantastic work that GMs do and put out. I can only aspire to at one point doing something a little bit like this maybe. Infinity. So yeah, this is like all of the incredible amount of stuff we have from the digital collector's edition. I only have the normal rule, but um, so many supplements for the different factions. Up to version 7 here. So these have been regularly sort of edited and updated. Lots of really cool and useful information. And then yeah, I keep on getting updated on all of this stuff because of the Kickstarter tier I picked up for this. But it's really useful because when eventually I do get to play more than some of the short adventures, this is going to be pretty sweet to have and to have available. Really great job from Modifius. Chris Birch and his partner running the show and sort of designing it. They're great people. I've met them. Really lovely publisher, and obviously employ really great people. So that's Infinity. Lovecraft-esque. Again, I've shown this. This is just a playtest. Rules. This is just some generic stuff. We'll come back to that kind of at the end. We'll fill into that. Shadow of the Demon Lord. So this is interesting. This is a sort of Woofrup Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. It's shortened to Woofrup. Woofrup Second Edition inspired game. First and second edition, like it wears its colors on the sleeve here in the preface, but this is very much that kind of tone of low fantasy world, but maybe like a shade darker, a shade gloomier. These are the themes: moral ambiguity, the end is near, civilization is ending. That's kind of the setting. And yeah, it's a pretty cool setting. It's quite a neat system. It's got kind of this roll your character randomly thing that Woofrup introduced. I didn't really talk about that, but this was Woofrup's sort of big thing, which is that you can just generate a character randomly by rolling on tables and try and find the so you're not just rolling their stats, you're rolling other stuff like background and so on, career, etc. And that's kind of cool, but it sort of encourages you to do that and build a group from kind of the misfits that come about from that. And then the system itself is just a very simple D20 versus challenge versus the target number. And it's pretty simple. It's pretty swift. It's not hugely crunchy, but it does outline a lot of stuff, and how things go. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily extend hugely, but it's a really good time. Really good time playing it. I've only played one game of it, but I'd love to play more. And obviously, I've got a lot of expansions for it, some really lovely names for it: Exquisite Agony, Glorious Death, Hunger in the Void. Yeah, also very dramatic artwork. Definitely have art direction here from Cara and Robert. Good job. Good job, everyone, on this. Terrible Beauty. I mean, it's a bit more sedate, you know. Okay, moving on from Shadow of the Demon Lord. Star Trek. Again, nothing really new. But for example, the operations division, so the three divisions, command, operations, and science, get their own sort of source books that give you a little bit more expansion and insight on what people do in those different roles. Gives you a few more rules and stuff to do. Really nice. Actually, huge again. Kudos to Modifius. Everything is printed in these books in a black background, but for printer friendly, they provide you both PDFs so that you can have them here for the screen, which is quite nice, and stuff that's printer friendly. Great job, thank you. Steel in the Dark is a version of a so Band of Blades is a Blades in the Dark sort of kind of game. What is it? Made in the Forged in the Dark, which is kind of the group of games called. But Band of Blades is basically Myth, the computer game in RPG form. Strangely enough, despite being very clearly Myth, it's one of the games that's listed in the inspirations for it. Weird, who knew? But yeah, stuff like Black Company as well, and so on. But you're a company of mercenaries escaping an overbearing undead horde, trying to survive. How does that go? Well, you work it out and you play the game. I did a version of that which I ran with some players, which was much more directly like Myth, because I love Myth, the video game, and it was cool to play out something inspired by that. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed running it. Couldn't quite get it past more than a dozen sessions, but we had a great time in the meanwhile. The One Ring. So I've shown you the One Ring, but you get a whole bunch of stuff from the starter set, the Rivendell source book as well, which kind of includes some of the extras that came out there. And the but this okay, so yeah, this I also have the first edition, which is, here we go, Cubicle 7 there, and this is kind of the slightly different style of a sort of a lighter, maybe slightly more generic style of the first edition. The rules are very similar. There have been refinements, but like they are fundamentally very close games. But like, it's nice. I do think that there is there's a bit of more of a dramatic Tolkien-y presentation, Swedish Tolkien-y presentation in the new edition. But yeah, sort of much more sort of limited and evocative art, perhaps, for it. So yeah, that's cool. Weird West is actually or Blighted West as I'm calling it, is a Genesis system that I'm currently running for some people. So using Genesis, but doing like a Weird West setting for it. Before we jump back to Woofrup, I'll keep that one to last. 140k. I just have a bunch of PDFs, mostly released in various humble bundles and so on, when Fantasy Flight owned the rights and just finished working on them and hand them in there. Cubicle 7 also did bundles of them, so it's just really great to have these in digital. I basically have everything in hard copy that I need, but these are useful to have. And yeah, like lots of cool 40k art in here. Yeah, including classic artwork that they've had. So it's really nice having for that, and the adventures and all kinds of reference. Um, yeah, random rules. Like I've just got an absolutely scattershot selection of stuff here. Good Society we've seen in hard copy. Apocalypse World. So this is kind of the powered by the Apocalypse progenitor, I suppose. Um, and yeah, it's kind of the core idea of the Apocalypse World, and how this thing plays out. Um, I mean, I like having this as a reference. I've been hugely inspired by this game and kind of that group of stuff. So I do always sort of come back to this sometimes for inspiration and just to think about, okay, what is really the core of how these kinds of games work. Band of Blades I've talked about. Um, Shooting the Moon is basically a this is a whole bunch of sort of basic short role playing games, but this is like adversaries falling in love. That's kind of the short idea of the game. And it's just a set of rules to help you there. Again, very light system, very much apocalypse engine inspired, although kind of only slightly loosely. Broomsticks. This is a Harry Potter game, role playing game. I wanted this for inspiration at some point. I can't remember why. Cold and Dark, we've already talked about. Cathay, this is just the initial rule set and write up for a game that I've been playing for over a decade now. Yeah, it's been very long running. Um, what have we got? We have next Dishonored. So this is another Modifius 2D20 system. I love Dishonored, the video game. So obviously I bought this when Modifius released it. Uh, it's a fairly slim adaptation of their 2D20 rule set, which I quite like. It's a lot more slimmed down and bare bones, and this is like a sketch of kind of the evocative stuff from Dishonored across the different time periods handled by the different games. It's really nice. It's really good as a it's well written to get you into that kind of Dishonored role playing mind frame. So I'd really like to play this with some people. It's probably a little bit niche interest for me. I don't know if other people would be interested, but I'd really love that. Obviously, maps and artwork from the games is wonderful. Adventure from that as well. Fiasco, yes, as I said, I've got the Fiasco Companion for the first game. You can see the inspiration here. So Burn After Reading, Coen Brothers film is what you're trying to sort of achieve in Fiasco. Really, it's can you make a Coen Brothers film out of it? Fiasco Companion gives you some guidance, some ideas on how to play out stuff. Cool. Free from the Yoke. Again, the game that I showed that I was involved in making and writing. So all of the cool stuff here. This is this is a Fiasco playbook. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Genesis Core, Uncharted Worlds. a space opera game. This was part of I don't know what I picked up, a humble bundle or a bundle of holding. It's a space opera game. It's an apocalypse engine kind of based type thing. Um, it's it's pretty neat. It's always good to have again these different apocalypse engine games as references, inspiration, and as a potential toolkit if you want to like quickly run something like this. You can just quickly spin this up with the with the playbooks that kind of handle the core of the ideas that you need to use. Um, so yeah, that's pretty cool. Holly Jolly is a rule set for Fiasco. Homeworld. So Modifius are also doing a Homeworld um, game. It's yet to be released. I have got the hard copy on pre-order. I love Homeworld as well. Homeworld as a role playing game, I think, is weird. I would love to play it just because of that. Because how do you play, like, on a game that is this told and is relayed on such a large scale? How do you play smaller human scale stuff? I'm fascinated by that. I kind of love the sketched out Homeworld lore. It's really cool. It excites me. So yeah, I'd love to check that out. Legacy, obviously, we've talked about. Kangamatsu is another one of those simple role playing games. So this is a Japanese Ronin style thing. So you go out and right wrongs. Um, Again, just a really simple rule set. It's really quite good. I've actually done a short, one off session of this. It's a cool game. Monster Hearts I've never played, but is obviously got got a know about it and the reputation, which is that you're teens who are monsters, and like you're playing out that kind of teenage drama of how do you make peace with yourself and what you are and what you're becoming, as an analog for growing up, puberty, teenage stuff. Yeah, that's a classic. um, yeah, that's another Fiasco playbooks. I have a lot of Fiasco playbooks. um, it's another Jason Morningstar Grey Ranks. Not personally familiar with this one. uh, yeah, so there you go. In this game, you will assume the role of a young Polish partisan before, during, and after the disastrous 1944 uprising against the Germans. That's what the game is about. Jason Morningstar does this, like the Night Witches. Another one about an apocalypse engine game, about flying planes, women flying planes in the Soviet Union against Nazis. That's yeah. Hollow Point is again one that I've picked up through a humble bundle, but yeah, I mean, bad people killing bad people for bad reasons. Again, very much a sort of a concept kind of RPG. Another one cool to have. What else do we have here? We have Spire, which is Grant Howitt making a game about elves, or dark elves rising up against elves in a spire. Basically, the downtrodden rising up. It's a very cool game. I have never still played this. I'd really love to, because conceptually it's kind of weird and cool and unusual. I think there's been even a second edition now, but there you go. What else is there to? There's random stuff. Oh yeah, Witch Girls Adventures. Yeah, witches. Do you want to be? I kind of like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. That's what inspired picking this up. I'd love to play this, because Yeah, it's just a cool setting. Which school? Who wouldn't want this? I don't know. Maybe you don't. I kind of like the setting an idea. Okay, and right before making this video extraordinarily long, let's return to Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Um, so yeah, here we. I'm not going to go into details in this, but here you will see I have the first edition, second edition, fourth edition, and Soulbound. I have so many PDFs for all of this. So yeah, first edition rulebook I've shown you, a print copy. Again, thanks to Cubicle 7, when they got the rights, they republished a bunch of these PDFs. Really huge, monumental effort from them. Really appreciate it. Supplements like Realms of Sorcery, which are just kind of hard to get hold of. But it's all here, and there's just so much cool Warhammer Fantasy lore, and really old Warhammer art, which is again never to be sneezed at, because it is a wild slice of the 80s and 90s. So yeah, that is pretty cool. And of course, this includes the original Enemy Within campaign, which is kind of the classic, prototypical, big, well-written, dense campaign, which has been adapted and remade for Warframe 4th Edition, and I'm playing in a game of that now. It's really cool. We're nearly at the end of Death on the Reich, but from there it kind of starts to diverge a little bit from the original campaign. But yeah, this is really cool. It's just very cool and interesting to read as well. Yeah, this is actually the session that we've just done. Section that we've just done. Local druid, local priest. Met them. Nice guy. Second edition, I have actually multiple versions of a lot of stuff here. So I've got stuff both when Fantasy Flight re-released and sort of provided the PDFs, and then when Cubicle 7 redid that as well. So yeah, I've got duplicates of some of the stuff, but I'm very happy to give Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay money. But somewhere here is the actual core rulebook, and like it is for me. It's very evocative. Like I love the art and design and kind of the layout. You got Gotrek and Felix there. Some classical art. It's lovely. It's beautiful. It's part of growing up. You have these all these careers, and kind of the art that goes with them. Again, just a lot of this stuff absolutely lodged in my mind. Your classic Empire Knight. That bit of art is just absolutely deep in there in my mind. And yeah, it's cool. I love it. And then we've got Fourth Edition, which is again the kind of all the new stuff and a bunch of stuff that I've picked up variously from Humble Bundles and other promotions that Cubicle 7 have done. Really cool publisher, really good publisher. But if you're curious, this is an iteration of the character that I'm playing in this Enemy Within campaign. She's a thief. She is also hates nobles and the rich. She ended up growing up in a forest in Britonia with some outlaws, and now wants to overthrow the social order. So an impossible task, and definitely problematic in the society of the Warhammer Fantasy Empire. But there we go. Sometimes you just got to fight the machine, and also chaos, in equal bits. And yeah, that is pretty much it. I think that concludes the guide to my all of my RPGs. I think that's almost everything that I own. There's probably a few things that are missed out, maybe, but ask me about it. I will tell you. Thank you very much for watching, and see you all later.